Hi, I'm Stacey Johnson with Money Talks News. Here's one of our best podcasts from the archive that you may have missed. Hey guys, and welcome to the Money Podcast. Today we're exploring how to talk to your spouse or significant other about money. We're going to tell you the best way to do it, answer your questions, and give you some tips guaranteed to make you both smarter and richer. I'm your host, Stacey Johnson, CPA, and I'm here with my co-host, Miranda Marquardt, producer, Aaron Freeman, and our special guest today, Tara Jackson of MadamMoney.com. So let's get the ball rolling right away. Tara, my wife's name is Sarah. She's an awesome woman. She's smart, she's funny, she's beautiful. But every time I try to get her interested in the stock market, her eyes just glaze over. And this is important, too, because I'm 23 years older than her. I'm 65. She's only 42. And I've got a ton of money invested in the stock market. So if I drop dead today, she's going to have a whale of a problem understanding this stuff. But every time I sit her down and say, honey, you got to learn this, she just doesn't care. How do I get her interested in this?
Well, one, she's fabulous because her name is Sarah and it's almost Tara. So, yeah, she is absolutely wonderful.
She is
But
wonderful.
It sounds like she has a completely different financial language that she speaks than yours. Yours sound like an investor, or your financial language is investing, the dominant language. Hers is probably spending. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, well, she does. I mean, she's not a spendthrift. I mean, she doesn't go out and waste money. She makes good money herself, by the way. She makes six figures too.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, she likes buying stuff. Absolutely.
Do you think that she's a saver or a spender? What is her dominant financial language?
God, that's a really good. I guess I would say spender would be my knee-jerk reaction, but she does save too. I mean, she has a 401k and blah blah blah.
Yeah. So it's important to, one, identify what your spouse or your partner's financial language is, because that's how they're going to need to be communicated with. So right now, you're speaking Spanish and she's speaking Greek. And even though y'all are probably saying the same things, you don't really understand. And if you're not catering to her pleasure principle as a spender, which is spending, we kind of retreat when that happens. I'm a spender, don't judge me. But even though we may know that it's important for us to invest and all of that, we don't like things that take away our spending power. So the best thing to do with that is to talk to her about spending money on investing and how investing will give her more money to be able to spend. And it's got to be fun. So if it feels like an onus thing, like, oh my God, I got to learn all this jargon that these investors keep talking and expecting all of us to understand, and it seems really like a burden, we love practicing the art of avoidance. So we know we need to do it. We're going to do it one time. We're just not ready to do it. But if it's something that's fun, that caters to our innate pleasure principle of spending, we're going to do it. If you show it,
I'll say that Sarah is about fun.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
it's got to be about fun.
I think I'm going to need an example or something here. But wait, before we do this, let me get a couple little items out of the way first. Before we go on into this podcast, you guys, quick disclaimer: everything you hear in this podcast, everyone on it is both hyper brilliant and breathtakingly beautiful, but never relied solely on our advice, especially since it may not relate to your personal situation. So if you have questions on anything we ever discuss, consult a professional. In short, if we screw up, you can't sue us. Get your own advice, make your own decisions.
There it is.
And now let's get back to the topic at hand, though. But before we do, actually, let's stop here for a second, Tara. Tell us a little about yourself. You are Madam Money. How did you become Madam Money?
Well, I wrote a book about 11 years ago. I wrote a book called Financial Fornication. So I figured...
This is one of my favorite books, by the way.
Yeah. Hey, I figured if sex can sell a cheeseburger, it damn sure can sell financial literacy. So I talk about how I was financially promiscuous with multiple credit cards. Don't judge me. And then I ended up with financial STDs, substantially tremendous
This is a hilarious analogy. I love this.
Yeah, the substantially tremendous debt, them babies hurt. And so I had to learn how to be financially abstinent and create cures, because I was literally getting my assets kicked by my financial institution. And so I figured if I was going through this, and I was running a credit union at the time, and I figured if I was going through this, making good money, living paycheck to paycheck, making six figures, and was able to run a financial institution on budget, but I wasn't taking care of my own finances because I had a dysfunctional relationship with money and credit. I figured if I was dealing with this, other people were too. And I saw a Hardee's commercial, and it was using sex to sell a cheeseburger. And that's when it hit me. Okay, sex can really sell anything. So let's try financial.
Actually, I feel like renaming this whole podcast to "Sex Can Sell Anything."
Right.
I like that. But you know what? I totally understand what you're saying, financial fornication, because which one of us hasn't felt like a boob at one time or another?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I was financial. You know what?
Will there be more puns coming? Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
there will be.
that was really a bad one, but that was funny, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, that's how you became to be mad at money. And you really sound astute when you're solving my problem. But now I have to ask you, though, it's kind of like platitudes. You know, like she's this and I'm that and blah, blah. But okay, let's do this. I'm trying to get my wife involved in the stock market. Not involved in it, just so she can understand it. Okay, her eyes are glazing over. You're saying you got to make it, you know that she's a spender personality and you got to make it fun for her. Okay, so I'll be her and you be me, and let's have this conversation. Okay, you're trying to get me interested in the stock market.
Well, let me ask you this. What does she like to buy? What is her most favorite thing to buy?
Clothes.
Awesome.
Clothes and shoes.
Awesome. Do you know where she buys her clothes and shoes?
A lot online. No, I don't.
Okay, so let's just say it's Macy's or whatever.
Okay.
And let's just say Macy's is on. Okay, let's do this. Okay, Sarah. I know, talking about the stock market is probably very boring and intimidating because there's a lot of jargon, but I want us to play a little game about this. And this is going to help us to learn more about the market together. So you love shopping at Macy's. Let's use Macy's. Let's see how much Macy's is selling for, and let's buy some shares. And let me teach you how when you buy anything from Macy's, you now own the company. And so when you get dividends, you can buy more. So let's just start there.
Stacey, don't talk to me like I'm a child.
I'm not talking to you like a child. You're the most brilliant, beautiful thing ever. I just want to make sure that if something happens to me and I croak, you can still play this game, because all the stock market is a game. That's all it is. And I just want to make sure.
That's awesome. And that's really good. And it would probably work.
So, yeah, because if it's something that she loves to do and she loves to shop at Macy's or wherever, even if it's an online store, if it's publicly traded or on the stock market, she should have fun because now it's a company she owns.
Wait a minute. I don't know. You just told her the more clothes she buys, the more money she's going to have. I don't know if that works.
Wow.
Well, for my wife, it would work because my wife's not spending more than she makes. There's not a debt problem here. And to gamify it would actually work with Sarah, I think. And another thing she buys from all the time is Amazon. And I do own Amazon stock. I do not own Macy's. But I've told her over the years, but this probably didn't help though, Tara. What I've said over the years is like, you're all about Facebook. I'm rarely on Facebook now. I certainly wasn't when I bought it 2 years ago for $85 a share. And now it's worth $26,000. I put in $9,000. Blah, blah, blah. I've done that to her. But that's just probably making her feel like, so she thinks the stock market's too risky,
Well,
that's another thing.
Well, the thing is with spenders, and we have to, identify whether she's a dominant saver that spends or dominant spender that saves. There's a difference, right? So if she's a dominant spender, she doesn't want to lose money, which takes away her spending power. So why would I put all of this money in a risky investment? I lose my money, then I won't have enough money to do what I want to do with it, right? Or if she is a dominant saver, then she is being passive aggressive with you. She does not want to talk to you about the investments because that's risky. And savers need safety, security, and control. And if their savings account goes below a certain threshold, they'll freak the hell out, right?
Right.
So they will avoid the conversation about investing as much as possible because they don't want to lose their money. That's their safety, security, control. They love budgets. They love seeing their money grow. And to feel like they're putting money in a risk tool that could possibly lose their money, that's what scares them the most. So the best way to talk to a saver when it comes to investing is just to say, we're not going to minimize or hurt your savings plan. We're just going to take a small portion of that, put it in the market so we can, get more return on our investment so that you can save more.
That's very cool. I really respect and admire that advice. And some people, like when you're saying saver and you're saying spender, my wife is actually both these, and I'm sure a lot of people are like that, right? My wife does like to have money in the bank. She doesn't want to take a lot of risk on it, but she also doesn't want to. But she also likes to spend money. I mean, there's not cut and dried. Everyone fits into one category, right?
Well, it's like being born in the United States, so you dominantly speak English, but you can learn Spanish and Greek and other languages that makes you bilingual. So a lot of people can be fiscally bilingual. They have a dominant financial language, whether it's saving, spending, investing, or giving, and they learn other languages to speak when it serves them. So I'm fiscally bilingual. So I'm a natural dominant spender, right? But if we're talking about investing, I know enough about investing to have the conversation so I can speak investor. Savings, I can speak. I've been in a situation where I lost everything and didn't have any money. So that forced me into learning the language of saving and the value of being a saver. I believe that the law of prosperity, the first law is you must give in order to receive. So I've learned the art or the language of giving and how powerful that can be. So by understanding and learning multiple language and being fiscally bilingual, it helps you to be able to speak in those different languages when it serves you.
Interesting. Well, just so you know, too, Tara, before we continue, that you are the only bilingual financial fornicator that has ever been on this podcast.
Well, thank you. Hopefully, I will be the only one ever.
You never know. We could have some people call in.
My name is Sarah, and I'm a financial fornicator.
There's plenty of financial fornicators out there, I'm sure. They're listening right now.
I was thinking about opening up Financial Fornicators Anonymous. But we probably just end up spinning the whole time, so I don't know.
I will join if you ever open a chapter in my neighborhood. So what about you guys, Aaron or Miranda? You guys have questions for Tara? Because I have plenty more. But
Well, so, I mean, I think one of the most interesting things to think about right now is we talk a lot about combining your finances. And this is something that I actually not really into right now, because when I was married, we had big pot finances and my ex was fine. It's not like he was like terrible with money or anything, but just going forward and thinking about like my priorities and how much control, I love that Tara mentioned control, but just thinking about my priorities, what I want to have control over, the things I want to do with my money. The idea of combining it with somebody else and having them have like equal access and say, like, really scares me at this point. Now that I've been divorced for a few years.
You did combine your money.
Yeah, we did. And yeah, okay. It was combined for 13 and a half years.
But the thought of doing it now would scare you.
The thought about doing it now, it just does. I mean, like separating those finances out when we got divorced was a pain. Even though we had an amicable divorce and we worked things through and we didn't have any problems, it was still a pain to separate everything back out. And now I think about, combining finances again with somebody in the future, and I just can't see it. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't.
It's an ongoing battle.
Diagnose me. Like, how do you decide that if it's the right thing for you?
You have to do what's right for you. There's no right or wrong answer. There's, I've dealt with couples where they separate everything. And this person pays the mortgage, the other person pays everything else, and they have separate accounts. And I have another company that they combine everything. And they designate, who's going to pay what out of the account and have allowances. And it works for them. It's really about what works for you. I am not someone that say that you must combine because, you're married. No, you could be a saver and you're married to a spender. Your biggest fights are going to be about the account, because the spender is going to spend. And if they have access to the money, the spender is going to spend it. And the one thing savers hate is when somebody spends their money without their permission. And so that's always going to be a challenge. So if you, depending on your financial language, you really have to determine whether, what's going to save your marriage, right? Whether separating most of your finances and then having a bucket just for household items. There's some people that do that. Whether you keep one person is responsible for paying these bills, the other person is responsible for that. Or you're so in love and think you're going to be together forever and you trust one another, you combine. So that's one of those things, it's probably almost like, are we going to sleep in the same bed or sleep in separate beds? Me personally, I don't care what you do. I just want you to stay married, right? So whatever works for you.
Yeah, and that's good. And by the way, before we leave this topic of combining, we need to go around the horn here. Sarah and I totally separate. But now, again, though, we're second marriages. We were completely had established households. And so for us, we never even thought about combining, not because we don't like each other. And we talk about money. We talk about what we're going to do. In other words, we share the power, but we don't necessarily share the money. We each have our own, and we both have plenty, and that's how we do it. How about you, Aaron? Do you guys combine, or are you separate?
Currently, we are combined, and listening to you guys, it's different for everybody, and I can see that. For me, failed all previous marriages and long-term relationships, and I learned as a self growth that I was the problem child. I was the spender, and this last attempt, I'm like, you know what? Fine, you take control of the finances, and I'm way better off for it.
Now, are you okay with that, though? Because I know Aaron and Sonia are both personal friends of mine. Aaron's wife is a personal friend of mine, and we hang out a lot together. And I know Sonia's like me. She's an accountant. So I can imagine her controlling, not controlling, but, taking care of the purse strings. But does it piss you off, Aaron? Do you feel like, you don't have enough freedom of your own to do what you want to do?
No, I've got spending going on, but I'm not out of control. Like, I don't know if this is true or not, but are men generally like the big spenders of the group? Because are we the guys that buy the trucks and the boats and anything that's, above 10 grand? Because that was me. And when you have that kind of money pouring out when your paycheck's coming in, there's no room for buying homes together and stuff like that. And that's what I was doing in my previous relationships.
Generally speaking, I mean, there's no gender as far as who spends more, who spends less. Men and women spend the same or save the same or whatever. But you are right. When men do, say, one purchase, they're usually doing a significant purchase. Like one of my clients, she was hiding. She was dealing with financial infidelity. She would buy a whole bunch of stuff online, but have it shipped to her office or her girlfriend's house or, whatever. And it was a lot of clothes or little whatever. Now, it may be $1,000 worth of stuff. But my other client, who's a male, he was like, I bought a motorcycle. I haven't told my wife yet.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
that's what I would do. I'd come home with a motorcycle. I'd come home with a $10,000 video camera.
Right.
Next thing I know, I got a $5,000 music keyboard, just stupid stuff, just blasting money. And it ruined relationships. And now I'm like, you know what? That was my problem. I'm a problem child. I'm letting my wife deal with it. And
you talk about it. If you want a motorcycle, you'll tell her.
Yes, exactly. Now the purchases are, we talk about it together. And doing this, we've upgraded our wealth because of that. It's
good.
More saving, less spending.
Now, what about you? What about you, Tara? Are you in a relationship?
No, I'm not. I'm actively seeking applications, but I can say that whenever I get married, it would probably be a little bit of both. We would definitely have our separate accounts, but we probably have a joint house account. And I say that all the money we would combine together, whatever, to pay the bills. And more than likely, I would probably be the one that would pay the bills and make sure they're paid on time, not unless I marry an accountant. I don't know. But I need to have my control over my money and where I want it to go and what I want to do with it. I've learned as a spender how to save more and invest more by being a spender. So I remove access from cash from myself. So my transactional accounts have, less than $1,000 in it. And I put all my other money either in my business accounts or it's in what I call a mama account. Because I give reverence to mothers and mama don't need to know what's going on in my house. So mama doesn't give you everything you want, but she can give you everything you need because you're not tapping that asset all the time, right?
Yeah.
So I remove access to a significant amount of money so that I don't feel like I can just go out and spend when I want to, even though I have a good amount of money in there.
Yeah, that's something we didn't discuss is the hybrid. There's the combining, there's totally separate, and then there's the combining with separate accounts too.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds like
I don't have a problem with combining. I'm not going to combine everything. My grandmother never taught me to do that. So
tap that asset. Is that another podcast? Is that another?
We haven't even talked about the side piece account. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah. What about that?
Yeah. They don't call me Mad of Money for nothing. So
the little account on the side, the sexy little account.
Yeah, actually, most people think they have a savings account, they don't have a savings account. They have a side piece account, right? Because that side piece account is attached to their main checking account. And when that checking account can't give them what they want, they tap that asset of the savings account. And so it's always depleted. And so psychologically, we put money in that savings account, knowing that once we spend all our money in a checking account, we still have something to go to. That's not a true savings account because it's never going to grow. It's going to satisfy an immediate need. And that's why I call it a side piece account. And that's why it's important for especially spenders to create a reference account that's in another financial institution, maybe a credit union that you can't get to, or you don't have a debit or ATM card for, and it's going to take some effort to transfer money to whatever account or get the cash, because that account, once you set it and forget it, that is what grows.
I've got a question. How do you get somebody over a financial fear? For example, my wife got into day trading, and she made some money. She lost some money, and she made it back. Luckily, she just broke even, and she's like, "I am never doing that again." And now I'm trying to get us back into buying stocks because we have all our money in just housing, and we don't have it as we call it diversification. And I'm like, everybody's telling me we should kind of diversify. We should buy long-term stocks? And she's like, I'm not touching the stock market ever again.
Oh, that's
I'm
a
like,
shame.
I'm not talking about day trading, honey. I'm talking about just putting it in there and leaving it, because
day trading and investing are so different.
It's so different. But I can't get her. She's so scared of the stock market. I can't get her over that fear of just. I'm not talking about. She can't separate day trading and investing long term.
So this is how I explain it to people. So day trading is someone that's going out for a one night stand. They're going into it, it's good, and they're out, right? The just trading online is like dating. You're dating someone. So when you're buying individual stocks or whatever, like I have Nike. So if I am going to invest just in Nike, I'm dating Nike, because when things start to look shaky, I'm probably going to end the relationship and move on to the next. And then when you're investing for the long term, you're relatively marrying the stock. So I have mutual funds. I have different stocks where even if they go down and we're having rough patches, I'm in it for the long haul. I'm marrying that. And so you have to determine which one you want to do. You want to do the one night stand day trading? That didn't work out for her. She probably doesn't want to date the stocks right now. So marriage is something that is very good, because if you're getting into an investment that has an uptick, at least in the graphs, whether it goes up and down, you're in it for the long haul. So you're always going to benefit for long-term investments in most cases. And
I think that's what it is. I mean, I think she's afraid. She has a fear of getting back into it. But I think she's afraid to marry that long-term stock because now she can't play around when we can use the money to do other things.
Is she a spender or is she a saver?
No, she's highly a saver.
She's highly a saver. So yeah, so you're always going to have that battle with her. In my book, 4 Financial Languages, I actually give you examples on how to have conversations with other finance. So if you're an investor and you're married to a saver, I give you examples of a conversation. So you'll see how to phrase certain things, because there are certain key words that you'll have to use with her to make her feel okay. So, like if you want to invest, well, honey, let's see if we can try to invest something that's really small that we can find together that is within our budget, that's not going to affect our savings. We can try it again in a better position, because day trading is highly risky, and maybe invest in something that's not as risky as that. So you're going to have to identify, and in the book, I give you certain key words that will positively trigger a financial language or negatively trigger. Like, you don't say budget to a spender. Just don't do it. When we hear budget, I hear diet, deprivation. I can't, no, and I ain't got time for that negative stuff, right? So there are certain words that you can use, and you'll have to be patient with her, because if that was a shock and she lost money as a saver, that hurt her deep.
Right. Yeah. I even took like some of my own money and put it in the stock market. She just kind of like looked at me like I was the strangest human being in the world.
That's so funny that she would go from day trader, which I hate, to not investing at all, which I also hate. But I've covered day trading for 30 years, and it's just stupid as it can be. And every month somebody says like, Stacey, as a matter of fact, I just talked to a guy yesterday who I met at a party. He's a friendly guy and a friend of mine now, I guess. But anyway, he's like, well, do you own Royal Caribbean? I said, as a matter of fact, I do own Royal Caribbean. Well, I'm yo-yoing it. I'm in and out. And I'm like, well, dude, you're gonna end up having your ass handed to you. You are sooner or later. But anyway, the point is, but that's so different than investing. And I'm sorry that Sonia doesn't.
Well, I mean, it's almost like you might have to tell her. It's almost like dating one guy, and he was a whatever. I'm trying to keep it PG-13, but he was horrible. And then you say, I'm never going to date men again. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of not fair because she's missing out on opportunities to grow her money faster.
Exactly.
By the way, Tara, I think you should be called Madam Metaphor. I don't think Madam Money quite gets it. You're awesome. You and you know what? And one of my favorite topics other than money is sex. So the fact that you can combine the two is just awesome. I just love it. Okay, now let me ask something. Especially with you, Tara, you have a simple explanation and a good explanation too for all kinds of different problems that we have in relationships discussing money. So let me ask you something basic. Why do couples have such a hard time talking about money? Why do they get in fights? Why is money one of the largest sources of or causes of divorce? What's going on here? Why the friction? Because we're speaking in different languages, right? So it's just like a love language. Like you can love me and I could love you, but your love language may be words of affirmation. And mine is acts of service. You can tell me how wonderful and brilliant I am all day, but if you don't provide me with acts of service to fill my love bucket up, I'm not going to feel loved. I'm just going to feel like you're patronizing me and just telling me good things. But that's how you love, right? So it's the same thing with financial languages. If you're married to a saver and you're a spender or an investor or a giver, you're speaking two different languages. And even if you're saying the same thing, because you're speaking two different languages, a saver will trigger a spender all the time because a saver wants to budget. They want to have control over their money and tell their money where to go. And as soon as a spender hears budget, we retreat. Now, we'll deal with spending plans and we'll do all that. We'll spend money on investing and spend money on savings and spend money on all of this. But we speak different languages. We have different pleasure principles when it comes to money. And how we got our dominant financial languages are different. Could be cultural, could be educational, our environment, learned, whatever. So that's the biggest reason why most couples argue is they're speaking different financial languages. And they need to figure that out and figure out what language their partner is speaking and then approach them accordingly.
Exactly. It's the same way as a love language.
Now, what do you do when you find out that your spouse, your significant other is cheating on you?
Well, I mean, if they're lying about money, they could be lying about other things. So that may be a whole different issue. Or if they're not, usually money is one of the exposures of certain problems that are in relationships. So if someone is not communicating, if they're not communicating about money, are they not communicating about their feelings? Money could be the remnants of it. Or it could be just that, we're great on all fronts, but when we talk about money, it doesn't work. So in my book, I talk about how to have money dates. And money date is not just sitting at the table saying, this is the bills we're going to pay and pay off, whatever. Money dates involve some form of intimacy or sex and having a good time, because I go deep into chakras, and why that's so important to set the stage, because now you're more open and more amenable to hear different perspectives. And that gives you an opportunity to talk about money in a different way. Interesting. Now, when we're talking about not lying, which obviously lying is probably a bad thing in virtually any respect when you're in a relationship, and yet we might all do it a little bit. Example: I bet Aaron $50 on the Super Bowl. I didn't tell Sarah. That's not what happened actually, but suppose I did. Is that a lie that's going to destroy my relationship? Should I not do anything that I don't tell my wife?
Well,
I'm not a marriage counselor. I just get tired by them. But I might buy a guy a drink because he's eye candy at the bar. Do I really have to tell my boyfriend or husband when he's not there that I did it? I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air about that.
Wait, my wife's going out with her girlfriend tonight. She could be buying some guy a drink at the bar?
Yeah, that might not be your business. So I'm a little torn on that. I think that if you are habitually lying to your wife about certain things, and if that $50 caused some type of financial hardship and she didn't know, that is very bad. So the problem is people make these large purchases that could put the couple in a financial hardship, and the other person didn't know, and they didn't have the benefit of helping to make that decision, or at least voicing their decision.
Let me tell you about another couple I met before we run out of time here. And I'm sorry, Miranda, you probably wanted to ask some stuff, and I'm cutting you off. But I meant to ask you about this couple a long time ago, and I forgot. Married couple, been together forever, since they were in high school. Now they're, mid-30s. They have money. They keep their money separately. She has money on a credit card. And combined, they make good money. I mean, over a couple hundred. They make good money. She's got money on a credit card paying 18% interest, and he's ragging her to pay it off. In other words, they have sufficient savings, but he didn't run up that bill. He's not paying it. Now, to me, that sounds insane. There's no way Sarah's paying 21% interest when I have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank. That's just nuts. What do you think about that?
I'm trying to figure out why she would even want to keep a balance on it and pay that interest.
She didn't have enough money to pay it off.
So she wants him to pay it off?
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if she's asking to pay it off, but he said he's not going to. I guess he's trying to say, you've got to be responsible. I'm not going to be responsible for your debts if you can't be responsible. This is probably not an uncommon situation. But isn't it stupid too for a team?
It's probably not uncommon
wait a minute.
Because she has her own credit. She has her own credit card.
But is she spending that money on the household, or is this like personal expenses? I mean, if it's on the household where she's buying stuff for the kids and she's buying food on the table, it's kind of part of his expense as well.
Let's say she's just buying clothes. Let's say it's just for her. I don't know the answer, but let's say it's just for her.
I'm a firm believer that if you created that debt, you are responsible to pay it. I would not ask my husband to pay off my debt. However, if he volunteers and that's something he wants to do to feel like the manly man, I am not going to stop him. But I would not. I wouldn't run up a $10,000 credit card on things that I like and I buy, and it's not contributing to the household, and expect my husband to pay it off. That's just
I guess
me.
that makes sense. Yeah, I would ask I would never, I'm not going to let my wife ever pay interest. But at the same time, she has to act responsibly. If she's not going to act responsibly, then she is going to have to pay interest, I guess. But I just can't stand the thought of us as a team paying interest when we don't need to. But I also don't have a wife that's running up credit card bills either. So.
Right. And what is she running up the credit card bill habitually, or is this something that happened and, she just went on a shopping spree and it's sporadic? Those are
I
different
don't know
things.
the answer to either.
So, for example, I have multiple credit cards, and I think two of them one is like 18%, another one's like 30%, but I pay 0%. Because I pay them off before the due date, right?
Hey, 2% cash back, man. You got to do it.
I get the cash back. I get the points and all that. So I really don't care what the interest rate is because I'm going to pay it off. And if I don't pay it off, it's going to be paid off in less than 60 days.
Here's another situation that I imagine is not my situation, but what about when somebody makes, let's say I make $500,000 a year, and you're my wife, and you make $15,000. I can imagine a situation where some people are kind of, maybe not directly, but kind of lord that over you. Let's say you go, Stacey, we should go to Jamaica. And I'm like, well, fine. I guess I'll pay for her to go to Jamaica because you sure as hell can't. You know what I'm saying? Even if you're not saying that exactly, you're saying it in, kind of in a backwards, an underhanded way.
So
do you think that happens a lot?
That usually probably will happen if the woman is making $500,000 and the man is making $15,000.
So that she's going to be a bitch, you're saying, about it.
Why? Why should I be a bitch?
I would just like to say I was not a bitch when I made 5 times what my ex-husband made.
Well, nor am I, being an asshole either. But I'm just saying, but I can imagine that happening in some way. Like I said, even if they're not saying it out loud, it's implied that
No,
if we're going to go on an expensive vacation, I'm probably going to be the one who's paying for it. I'm going to let you know that in some
Not
subtle
probably,
way.
you are.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to do that, though. I'm happy to do that. But some people probably would use it as a weapon. You know
right. Well, I think what it comes down to is whether or not you're an asshole. So if you're not an asshole, you're not going to use it as a weapon. So non-assholes, like, don't use money as a weapon, I think. But I think one thing to keep in mind is it's really looking at the holistic look at what you've decided as if you are going to team up with somebody and what you've decided, okay, how are we teaming up? How do we do this thing? Right. Because depending on the household, right. I mean, a lot of the time, like when I was making more than my ex, a lot of the time he would come home from school, he would do, mow the lawn, cook the dinner. He was all about cleaning that bathroom. And we kind of had a situation where we just kind of figured out, okay, also, what kind of lifestyle do we want to live? Well, I liked that he was, going to be an adjunct professor and had a lot of time off that we could spend together as a family. So it didn't bother me that he made less because we had this lifestyle that we could build together that was flexible. So I really think it comes down to like, okay, where are we at with what we want to do as a team, if that makes sense.
And I think, again, like if the person is an asshole, they're not going to be just an asshole with that situation. They're just going to be an asshole, period. And that's just one of the things that they probably loom over the person. I mean, if I had a husband, if I made more than my husband was cleaning the bathroom and cleaning everything, he can stay home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, how would you handle financial abuse? Somebody's holding that power over you. You feel,
any abuse. If you're feeling abused, you need to find an exit strategy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm zero tolerance on abuse. I've been in abusive relationships. And so now, and I know how hard it is emotionally to leave one, but you got to catch it early. And if you catch it early, you might want to create some form of exit strategy because that abuse normally grows into other things.
Anybody else? Anybody have anything burning to discuss before we leave this topic? Because it's a great topic. I really enjoyed doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I just would really like to. I mean, Tara mentioned having this exit strategy, and if she just has like a couple of really quick hits about what you can do to like make that exit strategy and kind of put that together, I think that would be very useful for people who are facing situations of abuse.
So if you're facing a situation with abuse, one of the things that you should start doing is start stashing as much cash as possible and setting up that separate account that person doesn't know about, whether it's an online account where you can just transfer money, or you open up at a bank that they're not familiar and don't have statements being emailed or mailed to your house. Another exit strategy is you need to find someone that you like, know, and trust to let them know that you're dealing with an exit strategy and that they can support you on that. So if you have to have statements sent, you can have them sent to their house, but they're helping you with that process. Depending on the type of abuse, they want control over everything. So they have control over your cell phone or whatever. Try to get a prepaid cell phone that you can either hide or stash somewhere. And this is in case you have to make you have to leave immediately. Most people in abusive relationships, they leave and then they don't have any place to go and they don't have any money. And they're starting from scratch. And that's why they're scared. That's why they don't want to leave, is because they don't have any money. So this is the time when you should start stashing away as much cash as you can. If you're given cash or you're working or whatever, I don't care if it's $5 every whatever, start stashing away that cash. Find someone you like, know, and trust to help you through your exit strategy and create some form of a communication. My best friend and I, we prefer using WhatsApp, and that's because it's not traceable. If someone wants to look at phone records or whatever, WhatsApp is not traceable, and there's a whole other type of softwares to do that as well, or apps to do that. But that's my top three because, of course, we're talking financial. You need money to do whatever you want to do, so you want to start saving up that money.
Kind of a negative way to end our podcast today, but an important thing to talk about. If I could say something in conclusion, it would simply be this: the only way that you can screw up a relationship, whether it comes to money or anything else, is not talking. Communication is the key to a successful relationship, in my opinion.
Yeah, and if you have
in
any
my opinion,
problems
is
with
experience.
if you have any problems with talking about money, I have an awesome book called 4 Financial Languages: The Secrets to Communicating About Money, and it's available at madamoney.com or on Amazon. So get the book, and that will definitely help you to learn how to communicate about money with your partner or your spouse.
That is awesome. And if you feel financially screwed, then it's time to talk financial fornication with
And don't be a
Madam
boob.
Metaphor.
And don't be a boob. Yeah, exactly.
And you know what I would say if this were PG. If you're a guy, don't be a
Wow. Yeah, don't do that.
Okay, we're out of time and perhaps out of the ability to put our podcast on MSN anymore because of the way we're talking. But we are out of time, guys, but we're never out of topic. So dig a little deeper. You're going to find links to lots more info in our show notes. And remember, if your goal is to make more, to spend less, to retire rich, your online home is moneytalksnews.com. And don't forget to check out Miranda's online home as well. That is Miranda Marquit, MARQUIT.com. And, of course, you want to visit Tara Jackson at her website, madammoney.com. Get a little fornication in there, folks. Got a question, comment, or topic you'd like to suggest? Tell us about it. Email us at hello@moneytalksnews.com. That's hello@moneytalksnews.com. And one last thing, if you appreciate what we do, then do something for us. Subscribe to this podcast. Takes you 2 seconds, really helps us. So if you like us, you better show us by subscribing. I'm Stacey Johnson.
And I'm Miranda Marquit.
I'm Aaron Freeman.
And I'm Tara Jackson.
Sorry, Tara, I did give you a warning for that in advance. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. We're going to see you right here next time.